From the Aishin Broadcast Studio, it's the Executive Spotlight.
Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, our guest is Gino Cipperoni from Dealer eProcess. Welcome, Gino.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Hey, thanks for coming in. I'd like to dive right into some content. Can you tell me about Amazon advertising? Like, what is it? What does it mean to a dealership?
It's honestly one of my favorite topics to talk about right now with dealers. So Amazon advertising is a somewhat unknown new marketing channel within automotive. And if we back up for just a second and you think about Amazon and obviously their scale, anything that Amazon does, they do to disrupt, they do to dominate, and that's exactly what they're doing in the marketing world. So Amazon as an advertiser is actually the second largest advertiser in the world, just behind Google, which is crazy to think about. People don't realize that, right? So the way we use Amazon for dealerships is based primarily around the data that Amazon has, which is why they're such a large advertising channel and have grown so quickly. So we were talking about this earlier. When you advertise or when you go to market with an advertising strategy, the number one most important thing that you should do first is define your market, right? Because while it might sound enticing to reach the largest number of people possible, when you look into any marketplace and you look into the amount of people in that market that are actually looking for a car to buy that month, it's only about 3.5% of those people. So what Amazon's able to do is identify those people very specifically and allow us to remove a lot of the waste that you would normally spend with this type of advertising reaching the entire marketplace and just dial into those people that we know are shopping for a car.
So Amazon has a lot of data. Can you tell me a little bit about what that data looks like? I mean, what do they know, and and how does a dealership take what Amazon knows about the people that are shopping on Amazon and use it to identify those people?
Yeah. Well, I think the shorter list is, what does Amazon not know about us, right? Yeah. So if you think about how much we interact with Amazon as individuals, it's not just Amazon.com, it's any of the hundreds of companies that they own. They've created what's called an Amazon Unique ID, which is essentially a profile of each individual that they do business with, which amounts to about 250 million or so people within the entire country, right? So they have profiles on everyone. And where this data comes from, and this is why it's so powerful, is it comes from the user. So when I buy something on Amazon, I tell Amazon my home address, right? And this is very accurate data because I'm not going to lie about where I want my stuff shipped. Right? I know, and I know that that data is accurate for my household because my wife has about 3 or 4 packages seemingly every day coming from Amazon to our storefront. So they know a lot about us from just where they're shipping our materials. And when you think about Amazon in the marketing world, it's very important to be able to know where a customer is if they are in your market, because there are other advertising outlets that allow you to reach out to customers in your area, but a lot of times they don't use that specific address targeting. They might use something like IP address, which can be very inaccurate. So if I'm using like a VPN or even just in general with fluctuations of where your IP tells you that you could be reaching people who aren't in your market if you're not specifically dialing in on their home address. So when I talk about Amazon with dealers, I talk about that home address being the foundation. Like, let's make sure that these are actually people in your market. That's step one. Another piece that's really valuable from the Amazon side of things is they have what's called the Amazon Garage. Now, this is something when I talk to dealers they're not overly familiar with, because when dealers look for parts or accessories for their cars, they're going to go to their parts center primarily, right? It's like, I know where this part is on the shelf, I'm just going to go grab it if I need it, wiper blades, whatever. But for the majority of people in the country, if they're going to buy parts for their car, most of them go to Amazon to do that. And Amazon's the largest online parts seller in the world, to the tune of, I think, $15 billion a year, something to that extent. Wow. So yeah, quite a large parts business. And what happens is when you go to buy parts for your car, you have to tell Amazon the year, make, model, trim vehicle that you own, because if they're going to serve you parts, they want to make sure they serve you parts that fit your car, as does the customer. So this is, again, data that is going to be accurate, because why would I tell Amazon to show me wiper blades for a car that I don't own, right? Yeah. So if you start to think of the profile that's getting built here, you know specifically where somebody lives, you know specifically what they drive, how old that car is, how often they buy parts for it. We can even identify if somebody's put parts in their shopping cart but then didn't check out. That's a signal to us to say that maybe this person's done putting money into this car and they want to get a new vehicle. So we've got a strong profile being built here, but it keeps going. So the next step of that is what's called the Amazon OEM showrooms. And I think a lot of dealers have heard about Amazon's recent partnerships with Hyundai in particular, where you can now buy a new Hyundai on Amazon.com. Like that is starting to roll out in a bigger, kind of in a bigger way. But Amazon also has partnerships with a lot of other OEMs, and the way that works is that as a regular consumer, I can go to Amazon.com and go to these OEM showrooms and search for, a new Jeep and learn about what those vehicles, the new features are, the trim levels, things like that. So that's another signal for us to tell us that somebody is actively shopping for a vehicle. And then the last piece, and this is my favorite piece, is Amazon has very robust what's called life event data on consumers. So I've been in the space for almost 12 years now, and I started as a Google strategist, working with dealers and trying to build and promote their campaigns. And over that time frame, dealers have often asked me, they said, hey, if somebody is about to have a baby, for example, I know that person is likely to be in market for a car, particularly if it's their first child and they own a smaller vehicle right now. So dealers would ask me, is there any way that you could identify people in my marketplace who are about to have a baby that I could advertise to? And historically, my answer has had to be no, there's really no data source for me to pull that would tell me that. But that's changed with Amazon, because on Amazon, for a lot of people that are about to have a child or get married or retire, all of these life events that tend to precede a car purchase, their activity on Amazon is going to change. They'll create a baby registry, a wedding registry. They'll start buying diapers like crazy. There's all of these signals that tell us that this person is about to have a child. And if we look at their entire profile, we can see, if we back up to the address, we know this person lives, say, 7 miles from the dealership. They have a car in their garage that's a 2018 Honda Civic, let's say, just as an example. They've been shopping the OEM showrooms, and they just created a baby registry. I think it's pretty clear that that Civic probably won't cut it anymore once you consider all the stuff you got to carry around for a new baby, right?
Yeah.
So that person's a great candidate for some sort of an SUV ad or something to that extent, because you're going to need a larger car. So that was kind of a long-winded answer, but those are all these really good data points that we have available just through Amazon's access to each individual's own profile that they've created.
So through Amazon's data, we've identified. Let's stick with the person about to have a baby. That's a great situation. So we've got this person. They're about to have a baby. They live near my dealership, and they're very likely to be needing a new car. How do I use that Amazon data? Like, how am I reaching out to that person?
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing to get their attention?
So that's the second piece of the puzzle, right? And that's a great question. And oftentimes when I talk about Amazon with dealerships, their initial thought, or a lot of people's initial thought, is showing ads on Amazon.com. That's not what we're talking about. The Amazon piece specifically relates to that data, that ability to build a very robust in-market shopper audience. Where we show these ads, or how we reach these people, is a pretty broad spectrum of different marketing channels. So one aspect is streaming TV. While you'll show ads to customers on Amazon Prime, and a lot of people know this, Amazon Prime is the only place you can watch Thursday Night Football now. So if you did want to show ads to people on Thursday Night Football, you have to go through this Amazon channel. That's one way we do it. But Amazon also has a very robust DSP where you can access ad inventory on apps like Hulu, Sling, Tubi, all the other major ad-supported streaming platforms. So you can reach people with that sort of like TV commercial type of an experience, but you'll reach them knowing that this person is in market because of this baby registry. And specifically, that person can see an SUV ad, whereas somebody else in your market, who we know is a truck shopper, can see a truck ad. So you can even get that granular with the videos that people see. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is video-based, but it's online video. And then the third aspect is display. Both of those two, the online video and display, get sent out via Amazon's display network, which is about a couple million websites worldwide. So you have a pretty wide reach to capture these consumers. Most of it happens off of Amazon-owned properties, but it's done through that Amazon data filter.
Wow. So you could have 3 people that were all neighbors. One's about to have a baby. One's about to have some other life event, and the third one's about to get married, and they're all watching Thursday Night Football.
Yep.
And they're all going to see some dealership's commercial, but they're all going to see a different commercial based upon the data that Amazon's provided.
Yeah, exactly. One could see, the person having the baby could see the SUV commercial. The person who's, say, retiring could maybe see a Corvette commercial, something that's like, hey, it's time to buy that fun toy finally. Third person can just see a used car commercial because we know that they're leaning more towards used vehicles. All of the data's there, and we use it to really personalize that ad experience.
Wow. And I just take it one step further. So the people on either side of those three people that aren't identified, they're going to see. I'm not going to show them any commercials.
No.
They're going to see Progressive or something else. They're going to see something else that Amazon's data has said they're likely to want.
Right, and that's the beautiful thing about it, right? Is that if you have, say, 10 people, we know the data tells us maybe 3 of them are in market for a car. Why would we advertise to the 7 that aren't? It doesn't make any sense. Now, they might be in market for service, which is another aspect that we could play into this, because Amazon's great for identifying service customers. Amazon's also very, very good, and this is something that's helped a lot of dealers, very good at identifying in-market EV shoppers, which is a I know a very big challenge for dealers right now, is moving their EV inventory.
Well, I want to talk about both those things, but let's start with service. Help me and the audience understand, how a service department is utilizing this Amazon data to drive people to the service department.
Yeah, so there's a number of different ways, right? Let's start with the garage. So the garage knows which vehicle you own, the Amazon garage that is. It knows which vehicle you own and how old that vehicle is and how often you're buying parts for it, or you're buying accessories, right? So you can take a set of those people and identify the people that are maybe own a car that's maybe 5 years or older. And you can, just in the simplest example, take that list of people and send them an extended warranty type of ad, because you know that they're most likely out of warranty with their vehicle. So that's a good opportunity for you to get them to buy that extended warranty if they plan to keep the car for a number of years, correct? Another thing we're able to do, and this goes across the board, is take the dealer's first-party data and upload it into Amazon. So now you think of your service data out of your DMS. Every dealer has a list of service abandoners, right? People who used to service with us but haven't been here in the past year or longer. You can take that list, upload it to Amazon. Amazon will anonymize that data and then match it to their own data within what's called the Amazon Data Clean Room. Fancy way of saying that's just where all their data matching happens. But once you've uploaded that list of people who used to service with you but no longer do, and you can confirm from the garage that they still own that car they serviced with you, now you can put those people in a bucket to say, hey, Brian, you used to service with us, we haven't seen you in a while, why don't you come back for a discounted oil change or something that's like enticing me to come back to the store. So there's a ton of different ways you can go about creating different types of campaigns, but the data allows us to do that.
Wow. So if a dealership uploads their own data, let's go back to the sales example.
Yeah.
So this customer, two people side by side. One is about to have a baby and they have done business with me. One is about to have a baby and they've never done business with me. If I wanted to, I could put more spend behind the customer who used to do business with me that's about to have a baby.
Oh yeah.
But still have a different spend on the people in the market that are about to have a baby that have never touched my dealership before.
Yeah, that's 100% accurate.
Wow.
Yeah. And you can go even further. Like you can upload a list of people whose leases are about to come due, and to ensure they lease from you again, give them maybe a lease pull-ahead offer or something to that extent, right? Just to drive that lifetime value of the customer, because we don't want to risk them going somewhere else, because we know brand loyalty amongst the consumer base is going down. Knowing that we can track that with an Amazon, we have a very strong ability to drive them in our dealer's direction, just using all that data.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, let's circle back to EVs. You brought up EVs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how a dealer that's trying to move their EV inventory can utilize Amazon.
Yeah. So EVs are a tricky one, right? And if you look in EV search volume within, say, Google, like search estimates, which I do a lot for our dealers, there's a big variance between the EVs that people are searching for. You might have one model that's pretty popular right now, meaning a Google's paid search campaign can do a good job of driving enough demand to move that model. And there are other models that customers may have never even heard of, meaning they're not going to go to Google and search it, right? So even if you have one of those models and you have a $5,000 Google search budget for that model, it doesn't matter. You can't spend a dime if nobody goes and searches for it.
Oh, yeah.
So when we talk about Amazon, that's when we talk about generating demand for those models that aren't moving. And when you look at Amazon's data, it's very clear that they over-index on data on consumers that are likely EV shoppers. And so what their data shows is that people who are likely to buy EVs purchase purchase items on Amazon 3 times or more per week, so you can set that parameter. They tend to be in certain income brackets, which Amazon, through other data partnerships, we can pull in data from TransUnion and other sources that tells us income bracket, credit tier, things of that nature. We can see that EV shoppers are likely historically luxury car purchasers. So now you have another parameter there that you can put in place, and you can set all of these criteria up that directly match who your typical EV shopper is. And then from there, send out those EV ads. Again, could be on Hulu, could be on ESPN.com, wherever, but we're identifying somebody who's very likely to be in market for an EV. And we have a dealership that we work with, VW of Capistrano out in California. They were having a very hard time moving their ID4s, and we set up these Amazon EV parameters for them, just like I explained, and within about 30 days, they had their second best EV sales month ever, and they were in the tank for a long time.
Wow.
And so that just goes to show that there is value in being able to actually proactively go out and find EV shoppers, because a lot of times you can't sit back and wait for them to come to you because they're just not doing that type of searching like I was talking about.
Interesting. So, this sounds like an incredible tool. Are most dealers utilizing this today?
I wouldn't say most, because it's still very new. So the way Amazon brought this to Tier 3 Automotive is they did it through several partnerships that they cultivated with providers like ourselves. Dealer eProcess was one of the first that they actually contacted and said, hey, we have this data. We think it's very good for car dealers to use within their own marketing. Would you like to work within our program to put that together? And of course we said yes, because when they showed us the data, it's like, this is a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
But it's the adoption was a little slow. I'll blame the inventory crisis for that. You don't have to advertise very much if everything that's coming on the lot is selling the next minute, right?
Yeah.
So, but as dealers are now starting to see that, we're getting back to a little bit of a more normal time. You do have to advertise vehicles now. You do have to proactively go out and find buyers. Amazon's starting to grow like a weed, at least within our world.
Presented from the Aishin Broadcast Studio at Babcock's Media.
Now, how much time and effort does this require, at the dealership level? Is this a new position that they're creating to manage this? Is this something that takes a couple hours a day? Is it something that takes all day? Is it something that takes a couple hours a month?
It might take a couple hours a month. It's very hands-off at the dealership. So what we've done on our end at Dealer eProcess is we've built the most robust Amazon advertising team in the space. A lot of the other providers that offer Amazon, they kind of bundle it together with their Google paid search and their Facebook. They kind of looked at it as another digital marketing kind of channel. We saw it very different because of how robust we know it can be. So we have a team of 15 Amazon strategists that work with their group of dealers every single month alongside our Amazon-specific data analyst to go over the information with the dealer about their campaign. We're able to track through our software where we're advertising and where sales are coming from, so we can understand really well how much we're influencing sales activity in certain zip codes. And then from there, dive deeper, look at which spots are producing the most traffic to the website, which tactics, which audiences are actually providing us the most sales, and then optimize from there. So we've built, again, the most robust team. We're the only ones that have actually built our own software to help manage and optimize these campaigns as well. And so by having all of that data and us doing all the heavy lifting, really all the dealer has to do every month is get on the call with us to review the information to make sure that the campaigns are functioning, and then approve that next month's spots, which that could take a few minutes, right? Because we do all the creative, we handle that for the dealer. They just give us the check, we're ready to go, and then they move on to their job, which is the most important thing for us because we know every dealership's time is very, very precious. So we want them to have to spend as little time as possible getting the information they need, giving us the go-ahead to run the next spot, and then they go back to selling cars.
I'd like to ask you about your new solution, Everest.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I could. How much time you got? This is something we're very, very excited about. So Dealer eProcess for a long time, pretty much for our history, has been known primarily as a website provider. Yeah. And rightly so, because we do produce the highest converting websites in the industry. If you want more leads, we're certainly a platform that can help you do that. However, a lot of dealers were unaware of the fact that we've also developed an extremely robust digital retailing solution that's coupled with our trade-in solution, a solution that pulls customer credit with using soft pulls in real time from TransUnion. We have chat application. We have a pop-up with a brain. We have our AI solution, which I'd like to talk about. So we've put all of that together into one seamless platform that we call Everest. And the idea behind Everest is It's the perfect solution for a dealer that is looking to do a few specific things. Number one, they're looking to bring as much of their digital ecosystem under one roof. And that provides a lot of benefits. It gives them, as a lot of dealers like to say, one throat to choke. At the end of the month, hey, if something's not working, they know they have to go to one place to figure out what needs to be tweaked and fixed in order to solve the problem. There's also a lot of times a cost savings behind that because you're bundling a lot of these products together. But then the biggest benefit is the fact that the ecosystem was built and designed on one code base, meaning it's all designed to work together seamlessly from both a customer experience standpoint and a data tracking and optimization standpoint. Because what we've realized in the industry is that you have a lot of really good vendors out there that do very specific things. You have website providers, you have trade-in tool providers, you have chat providers, but they're all separate, they're all siloed. And if a dealership has 3 different or 4 different companies running digital tools on their website, it can cause a lot of different problems. Site speed can be slowed down because you have to load the site and then you have to load this third-party chat and then a third-party trade-in tool. And the way that those are usually structured, if it's all different technology, can bog down your site load time, which hurts your organic traffic, hurts your conversion, tons of problems that come from that. Yeah. But then also from a consumer standpoint, if you think about it, customers are looking at these different tools and it's very apparent a lot of times that those are different companies that customer would be giving their data to. We were talking about this earlier, the concerns about data privacy today, right? Customers don't like giving their information to a lot of different companies because they don't know what's going to happen to it, right? So within Everest, everything was built off of the same code base, meaning it's all built off of the same user experience or UX design. And so customers, when they're going through the process, they know that if they fill out a web lead or they fill out a digital retailing lead or something to that extent, it's all just going straight to the dealer because all of that front end is seamless. It's all one application. Yeah. And then the last piece, and this is where I spend a lot of my time when I'm looking at a dealer's digital setup and trying to figure out what's going on, all of the data sharing is complete. So another problem that has existed in the industry for a very long time is that when you have a setup where you have all of these different tools on the site, none of them talk to each other. So if we have a dealer who says has a dealer process website, and then maybe we're running paid search for that dealer, if they have a third-party chat application, we don't know if our paid search leads, our paid search traffic, I should say, are generating any chats. That's a tracking black hole, meaning A, we can't tell the dealer how many chats paid search got them, which it could be a significant number and it could tell us a lot about the campaign. But the second problem from that is that when you look at optimizing a campaign, specifically within Google in this example, having that lead data can feed their algorithm so they're better able to find people who are likely to convert. But if that's not being shared, that can't happen. So Everest solves for all of these problems.
I do want to ask about a new piece of Everest.
Yeah.
I know that Sherpa's pretty new, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? Like, what is Sherpa?
Yeah, so Sherpa, obviously in the context of Everest, going with our new naming convention and things like that, obviously when a person goes to climb Mount Everest, oftentimes a Sherpa is there to guide them up the mountain, right? And so when we went to develop our AI, specifically our AI centered around personalization, we did look at it as a way to guide a consumer more effectively through the car buying process. So calling it Sherpa made a lot of sense in that case, right? But Sherpa is our new AI platform. And it's like I mentioned, it's primarily built around the idea of website personalization. So going back to Amazon, which I love using as an example because it's such a cliche, but it's so easy and it makes a lot of sense. When you think about what made Amazon really, really popular and really just blow up the way it has, a lot of it has to do with the fact that they were very, very early adopters of this idea of personalization. And you could look at a quote Jeff Bezos said way back in 1998 when he said, if we have 4.5 million customers, we should not have one store. We should have 4.5 million stores, right? Because what you know, or what they know, is that what's important to you isn't necessarily important to me. So why would they show both of us the same exact content when we go to Amazon.com, right?
Yep.
And I think anybody watching this knows that experience, and it's become so seamless now and so expected when you do go to Amazon or any other major online site that you're going to get that one-to-one experience. Well, where has that experience never existed?
No,
car dealer websites.
Car dealer web, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when we looked at that fact that car dealer websites, again, knowing that you and I are different shoppers, would still both show us the same offers, the same inventory, everything like that is all very static.
Yeah, the car of the week.
Right, the car of the week, or like, check out this Mustang banner. It's like, that's cool, but I need something to haul my fishing boat with, right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem what we set out to solve with Sherpa. So the way Sherpa works is very much like that Amazon unique ID I was telling you about before. So Sherpa in the average platform is actually going to assign an ID to each individual shopper that visits the site. And then within that ID, we capture data about that consumer. What features are most important to that person? What vehicles are of greatest interest? Have they been shopping OEM sites or third-party sites? Have they been shopping other dealer sites? What cars have they been looking at? We can put all of that into a profile and use that information through Sherpa to completely personalize that customer's experience the second they land on the website. So what will end up happening is on the average platform with Sherpa doing its thing, you and I can see very different websites from, what features are being promoted in terms of like, I like Apple CarPlay, you might prefer sunroof, things of that nature, to the way my filters on the side of the search results page are sorted because certain things are important to me, maybe different things are important to you, to vehicles I've viewed, vehicles I've saved, and even, and this is my favorite part, the ability to share that data across a group. So Sherpa, which is what's really cool, Sherpa and Everest are actually the first solution that's built specifically for dealer groups, because the way it works is that if I'm on the group's Honda site and I'm looking at SUVs with Apple CarPlay, heated seats, vehicles with third row seating, things of that nature, if I leave the group's Honda site and go to their Toyota site, even if it's my first visit, it's going to take the information from that Honda visit and use that data to personalize my Toyota site visit from day one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because we know, based on what you told us on Honda, we know what's important to you. And so Sherpa's doing all of this crunching in the back end to produce this one-to-one experience. And that's what people want, People don't want to have to tell a dealership site over and over again every time they visit, yes, I want Apple CarPlay, yes, I want third row seating. Why do you keep asking me that? So they want that stuff to be brought forward to them.
Yeah.
So that's what Sherpa's been designed to do, and it's done a crazily effective job. We've seen just within the last, in the first 90 days of switching a dealer over to Everest and turning Sherpa on for them, that leads on average jump about 20%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, we've been talking about taking data from, and using it in different places. So I got to ask, Sherpa is gathering all this information about these people when they're shopping on the dealership's website. Does this translate anywhere outside of the dealership's website? Like say I'm on the website, I look at the Honda, I look at the Toyota, whether I buy a car or I don't buy a car, is the dealership able to use any of that data like for future marketing to me?
Yeah, so Sherpa is actually tied into our marketing automation platform as well. So whatever activities you do on the site that we capture data from, it will be sent into the marketing automation platform so that if we do advertise to you off-site, we'll have a much better understanding of what ads to send you or what emails to put in front of you that is going to drive an action and bring you back to the site. And then from there, the cycle continues. So if we do a good job of bringing you back to the site, Sherpa's just going to collect more data from your next visit, which is going to amplify the marketing more, and it just becomes that much more robust. Another thing that's worth mentioning, and I should point this out, the way we develop Sherpa is it requires no lift, no effort whatsoever on both the customer side and the dealer side. Because a lot of times personalization is tied to, say, an account, a login, right? Well, the way that we built it, customers do not have to log in. They don't have to previously exist in a dealer's DMS in order to get this experience. None of them do. So that's a big differentiator for us because there are other platforms out there that do try to personalize the experience for customers, but they force a login, which a lot of customers aren't going to do. Most people aren't going to create an account on a dealership's website, particularly if you have no previous history with that dealership. So that was an important thing for us to kind of figure out is how do we create a personalization for experience for as many people as possible, to the tune where about 87% of all site visits to a Sherpa-powered site receive a personalized experience, meaning all that data is going into the marketing like we were just talking about, so you get that robust experience, which is a big reason why we're seeing this 20% lift in leads.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
It's been a lot of fun, and we have huge plans for Sherpa. I mean, if anybody's watching this as around NADA, if they come to our booth, they're going to see all the new stuff that Sherpa's going to be able to do.
mean, so if I got it right, I mean, like I visit the site for a couple minutes, and here's the target, and we're hitting here, and then I visit another site, and now we're closer to the center and closer to the center. The more I interact with any of the websites within a dealer group, the more data they get, and the tighter and tighter and tighter you get until you're hitting me with exactly the right message.
Exactly. And what's also interesting, we found this out very quickly, is that the results that we're seeing end up more so and by results I mean the lead generation. They end up happening more often on a customer's first visit to an AI-powered site. And here's what's happening. Here's what was interesting. That kind of threw me for a loop when we first saw that, because what I expected was that we're going to see a huge boost on the second visit or the third visit.
That's
right?
what I would have guessed.
Yeah, because we'll have so much more data. But Sherpa personalizes in real time. So it doesn't take a couple minutes. It takes the first interaction that you give us. We're going to start building that profile and using it to personalize your experience. So that's on visit 1. So what we saw from that is that there was an increase of about 77% in leads during a person's first visit to the website, which is crazy. So what apparently is happening is that as Sherpa is proactively rearranging the content on the site to match that customer's current journey, that person is leaning in more. They're saying, okay, you're speaking to me. You're actually treating me like an individual. I like that. I'm going to fill out a lead. I want to do business with this dealership. This is really beneficial for the dealers, obviously, because not only are they getting that boost in leads, but they're getting that lead earlier in the car buying process for that individual, which is really important because the data is very clear that if you're the first dealer to talk to a customer in their car buying journey, the odds of you buying a car are something like 70% greater than the second person who speaks with them, or the second dealer. So now we're getting a lot more higher sales conversion rate off our leads because that conversation's happening earlier in the car buying process.
I guess I kind of understand the first visit thing, because if Sherpa is helping me to get to where I want to be faster, I mean, because if it used to take 5 minutes, what are the odds that someone's going to come in the room or the phone's going to ring, or it took 5 minutes to get to the car I wanted to submit a lead on, there's a lot more opportunity for me to be interrupted. But if Sherpa's able to get me there in 2.5 minutes, I mean, that you just cut the opportunity for me to get interrupted in half. So,
right.
I mean, I guess that does make sense, that if you can just get me to where I need to go a little bit faster, I'm going to be way more likely to still be around when it's time to submit the lead.
Yeah, and that goes to, again, our conversation earlier, this idea of certain metrics that have historically been looked at in terms of measuring performance, right? And one of the interesting things with Sherpa and Everest that we've had to do is kind of reanalyze how we assess the effectiveness of a site. And your example is a great one, because what we've seen is actually a bit of a reduction in time on site. And time on site has always been looked at in the light of the more time on site you have, the better your experience. But is that really the case?
It's kind of like the DMV. The more time
right.
in the DMV means you must enjoy it, right?
Exactly. Whereas if I don't even have to go to the DMV and my DMV time on site is 0, technically, I'm much happier.
Yeah.
But if we look at the way Sherpa works and bringing that content forward and proactively bringing it to the customer, if their time on site is going down, but leads are up 20%, then I don't really care that your time on site is down, right?
Yeah.
Why would it matter? Really what you're telling me is that you're making people's experience much quicker, much better for them. They're less likely to get interrupted, like you said, so they're much more focused within that 2-minute window to get to what they want, be brought the content they need to see to get them to convert. And so it's kind of reframing how we have to analyze sites, but it's doing it in a way that's much more well-tailored to today's customers.
Well, Gino, this has been a great interview. Is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today?
Oh man, there's a ton, but I would say, go to dealereprocess.com. There's a lot more information on there about Everest, about Sherpa, about Amazon advertising, and everything else that we do. We are constantly running, blog content. We have a large educational series run by the automotive webinar queen, Eliana Raggio, our CMO, who is great, and she brings on a ton of guests from Google, dealer consultants, things of that nature in our webinar series. Because while we want to provide the best products in the industry, we also want to be a source of education for dealers. If there's something about Google Analytics 4 that you don't understand, we have content or we have a webinar for it. So go check out the site, go see what you can learn and understand more about Dealer eProcess. That'd be my only ask.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
And thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest has been Gino Cipperoni from Dealer eProcess. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.